From grim implications about popular characters to low-key brutality hidden in family-friendly fare, and creepy stylistic tricks concealed just below the surface. You've probably never noticed these creepy and deeply WTF movie moments before. The lesson here? There's always something new to find in your favourite movies, whether you like it or not. So I'm Gareth, this is Whatculture, and here are disturbing movie moments you never noticed. Jack Sparrow has syphilis, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's obvious that Johnny Depp brought much of his own creative spirit to Pirates of the Caribbean's Jack Sparrow, modelling him after the Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards, and even insisting upon a curious visual detail you've likely never noticed. Throughout the franchise, check out Sparrow's face during any close-up shots, and you'll spot a peculiar red mark on the right-hand side of his mug. While at first glance you might assume it to be a mere scuff or graze from his hard-going adventuring, it's actually a detail which Depp and the film's makeup crew agreed upon to subtly suggest that Jack was suffering from syphilis, with a facial rash being one of the STD's primary symptoms. Given that Sparrow isn't exactly shown to be a stickler for hygiene and certainly has a healthy appetite for the ladies, it's nothing if not on brand for the character. If also something quite gnarly to sneak into a swashbuckling Disney adventure film aimed at family audiences. The shadow of Jango Fett's decapitated head. Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. In a not dissimilar vein, Jango Fett's death scene in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones is pretty damn disturbing for a film marketed for children. During the Battle of Geonosis, Jango battles Mace Windu and is swiftly decapitated by a sleek swish of the Jedi Master's laser sword. George Lucas takes the scene about as far as you possibly can with a PG rating, showing Jango's helmeted head fly clean off his formerly mortal shoulders, before young Boba Fett picks up said helmet, apparently cradling his father's own cleaved noggin. But take a closer look at the scene, and you'll notice that when we see Jango's helmet fly through the air, there are two shadows. One for the helmet and one for his severed head, which appears to soar off somewhere into the distance, mercifully away from Boba's immediate vicinity. While it spares Boba the trauma of picking up his dad's decapitated head, that shadow still makes for a pretty damn grim implication of its own, that Jango's head got violently launched halfway across the battlefield. Is this the most disturbing death in Star Wars? Or is there another? You let me know in the comment section down below. It's Nemo's Caviar, Ratatouille. Alright, brace yourselves for this one because it's about to get rough. Even accepting that most Pixar movies operate on two levels, one for kids, one for adults, this is one downright upsetting implication no matter what your age is. In Ratatouille, take a close look at the pot of caviar that can be briefly seen in the pantry at Gusteau's restaurant, while Remy gnaws away on some cheese. Though it's hidden in shadow, the words Nemo brand are just barely visible at the top of the container. And because caviar is fish eggs, Pixar is basically half-jokingly implying that the caviar in this restaurant is sourced from Nemo's family, presumably his late mother Coral. Now, to be fair, caviar generally comes specifically from sturgeons. You learned something new today, didn't you? But given that Finding Nemo literally kicks off with Coral being eaten along with all but one of her eggs, that egg being Nemo, it's a pretty damn dark joke, isn't it? Buffalo Bill's wig is a woman's scalp, the Silence of the Lambs. The Silence of the Lambs is jam-packed with unforgettable scenes, and perhaps none more so than serial killer Buffalo Bill's eerily iconic dance to cue Lazarus's inimitable tune Goodbye Horses. The scene is clearly meant to draw the audience's attention to Buffalo Bill tucking in his penis as he dances around. Enough that it's easy to miss that the wig he's wearing on his head isn't really a wig at all. Peer upwards at Bill's head and you might notice that he's actually wearing the scalp of one of his murder victims. In a few fleeting shots, the torn skin from the scalping is visible, confirming that no, this isn't just a hairpiece he legally acquired from a store. In a film chock with disturbing details, this goes right to the very top. And even though we're fully aware of Bill's modus operandi by this point, it's still missed incredibly easily. The face under the bed, Stuck on You. The Farrelly brothers' hit 2003 comedy Stuck on You doesn't seem like the sort of movie you'd expect to find a wildly creepy surprise in. And yet, here it is. In the first minute of the movie, as the conjoined duo get out of bed, and Matt Damon's name flashes up on the screen, smash the pause button and peer deeply into the dark void underneath them. If you squint a little or just turn the brightness up on your display, you'll be able to see a person hiding under the bed and staring directly into the camera lens. No, this isn't a demonic entity hiding in plain sight. Indeed, it's been claimed that this is none other than one of the film's executive producers, who hid himself in the movie as a joke without the Farrelly's knowledge. Evidently, he got away with it too, and he's now forever immortalized on screen in a wildly unsettling way. Thanks for checking out this disturbing video today, and tap that subscribe button down below for more Whatculture in your life. This guy's dating profile: burn after reading. The Coen brothers' Burn After Reading is a terrifically savagely entertaining black comedy, and arguably one of the duo's most underrated films. True to form for the Oscar-winning siblings, it's also densely packed with little details, including this nauseating one you might keenly blink and happily miss. Early on, gym worker Linda Litsky is shown visiting an online dating website, and as she scours her bleak prospects, a user by the name of Alan M2007 is briefly seen. We as the audience aren't given enough time to scan his profile without pausing the movie, but if you do freeze frame it, you'll see that under his list of turn-ons he mentions kids. Now if you want to be generous, you could suggest that the man simply means that he loves kids, and isn't against dating someone with children. But paired with the word turn-ons, the icky connotation speaks for itself. The fact that the man's profile picture plays up to the physical stereotypes of pederasts doesn't really help his cause either. The Gimp has no tongue, Pulp Fiction. Not a single solitary soul who has watched Quentin Tarantino's magnum opus Pulp Fiction will ever forget the sequence in which Butch and Marcellus find themselves bound and gagged in Zed's basement. At this moment, Zed has the Gimp brought out, his bondage gear-clad sex slave who also happens to be a near mute throughout the entire sequence, even when he's knocked out by Butch. Given that the Gimp never musters more than a few giggles and muffled screams during the scene, most likely assumed he had some sort of ball gag type device in his mouth. But that's not quite the case. In a 2014 interview with Vulture, the Gimp's actor Stephen Hibbert revealed that, with Tarantino's approval, he played the character as though his tongue had been cut out by Zed and his associate Maynard. While screaming, Hibbert only vocalized with his tongue pressed flat against the bottom of his mouth, in order to give the impression that the Gimp indeed had no tongue. And honestly, it makes sense. If you pause the movie and look at the Gimp's mask, there's no indication that he's wearing a ball gag, the outline of which would surely be visible. Bobby's early appearance, Dressed to Kill. Brian De Palma's classic 1980 psychological thriller Dressed to Kill kicks off with the brutal demise of housewife Kate Miller, who is slashed to death by a mysterious tall blonde woman in an elevator. This individual is later revealed to be Bobby, a transgender patient of Dr. Robert Elliot. And the film's big twist is that Bobby is actually the alter ego of Dr. Elliot himself. But if you scrub back to around 21 minutes into the movie, there's a neatly unsettling surprise waiting for keen-eyed viewers. As Kate leaves the Metropolitan Museum of Art shortly before her death at Bobby's hands, the camera pans across the street in front of her, and Bobby can be seen in plain sight for a few fractions of a second. Make no mistake, that is Michael Caine in a wig and sunglasses, alright? With De Palma cleverly hiding the murderer in view before they'd been formally introduced to the audience. What a move. Taye Diggs' face on the floor, Equilibrium. Ah, Equilibrium. One of the sillier, if more entertaining, Matrix knockoffs to slink into cinemas in the early 2000s. If you've seen the Christian Bale starring dystopian sci-fi film, you'll likely remember the utterly unhinged moment in the movie's action-packed climax, when Bale's protagonist John Preston dukes it out in a sword fight with his former partner Brant. We assume we're going to be treated to an epic, prolonged duel. But within a matter of seconds, Preston delivers a blow across Brant's face, which causes his face to straight up just fall off. After this, Preston battles the real big bad Vice Consul DuPont. And once he's killed him, keep your eyes fixed on the floor. Why, near the bottom of the frame, isn't that an hilariously goofy CGI rendition of Taye Diggs' sliced off face? And yet in the 20 plus years since Equilibrium's release, how many viewers have honestly ever noticed this? And as a bizarre cherry on top, look up at Preston and you'll see that he's most certainly not played by Christian Bale in this shot, but rather a dead obvious stand-in for Proposal, Predator 2. Granted, this one is actually kinda cute once you know the inside baseball context, but for any viewers who just randomly stumble upon it during a viewing of the movie itself, it is actually incredibly disconcerting. Who knew that Predator 2 was really just a love story after all? Not a lot of you, I bet. During the sequel's unforgettable slaughterhouse sequence, the Predator's gauntlet malfunctions for a brief moment, and for a few fractions of a second, a hidden message can be seen on said gauntlet. Marry me, followed by the word pointer. It's pretty much the last thing you'd expect the Predator to say. And it's all the more unnerving that it's displayed in the middle of an ultra-violent action sequence, where Peter Keyes and his men get thoroughly bodied. As for the story behind the message, this Easter egg was actually sneaked into Predator 2 by Donald Pointer, an animation artist who worked on the film and included it as a proposal for his then-girlfriend. Better still, fans managed to get in touch with Pointer back in 2019 to both confirm that his girlfriend said yes, and that they're still married to this very day. Aww. But still, if you catch this message within the pure vacuum of the film's story itself, it is hella creepy. And speaking of creepy, what do you think's the creepiest monster you've ever seen in a movie? Is it the Predator or something else? You let me know in the comment section down below. The goat's demonic bleating, the witch. Because Robert Eggers' terrific The Witch apparently isn't foreboding enough, he included a hair-raising Sonic Easter egg which precious few fans have picked up on. No, not the hedgehog. At roughly 30 minutes into the movie, Thomasin is sent outside to check on the farm's animals, at which point goats can be heard repeatedly bleating in the background. But that's not any ordinary bleating, no. The goats are bleating the notes E natural and B flat, which are a tritone apart and thus create a dissonant sound. This has been nicknamed the Devil's Interval, and folklore claims that the church historically forbade music with tritones in it, due to its diabolical association. Now there's not much in the way of historical fact to back this claim up, but the tritone's nickname nevertheless endures regardless. And so Eggers decided to include it in his film as an Easter egg intended to creep out the musically minded among us. Central Park Lake Evaporates, Knowing. The Nicolas Cage starring apocalyptic thriller Knowing may be a pretty so-so affair for the most part, but it at least demonstrates the courage of its convictions, when the vast majority of life on Earth is wiped out by a solar flare at the end, save for those children rescued from the planet by a fleet of extraterrestrial angels. Yep, that happens. The climactic montage shows the surface of Earth being brutally vaporized. New York City's skyscrapers reduced to dust and rubble in fractions of a second. But if you look closely, the film's VFX artist actually put a stunning amount of work into capturing even the most minor yet enormously horrifying details. Case in point, as the flare obliterates Central Park, for a few seconds it's possible to spot the park's iconic lake being nearly instantly evaporated by the flames, presumably leaving only a dry crater behind. Props to the VFX team though for daring to go into forensic detail to show how horribly Mother Nature could totally wreck the planet if she really wanted to. She did not mess about here. That random naked dude, Twister. What's more unsettling than a random naked dude in the middle of a family-friendly escapist blockbuster? Not much, to be honest. Those who keep their eyes peeled at the roughly 55-minute mark of Twister just as Joe and Bill drive by a cornfield might spot an apparently nude man peering out from said cornfield and watching them drive by. Thankfully, the man's modesty is concealed by the field itself, but considering there's no palpable story reason for some naked man to be wandering around in the middle of a storm, it's most likely that this was simply a local passerby who ended up accidentally caught in the shot. Look, it happens, right? The filmmakers either failed to notice him during editing, or understandably believe that most audiences wouldn't. And considering the millions who've evidently watched Twister without catching this sketchy nude dude, they've basically been proven right. All the same, in behind-the-scenes and narrative terms, the mystery still remains. What the hell was this guy up to skulking around a cornfield in the buff? Madness. I'm a Happy Gary, Team America, World Police. Matt Stone and Trey Parker's wild puppet comedy features a memorable gag where Gary Johnston is offered a way out by Team America leader Spotswood in the event that he's caught while infiltrating a terrorist cell. Because a cyanide pill's just too damn boring apparently, Spotswood hilariously instead offers him a hammer to bash his own brains in case his ruse is
is discovered. Right, but this gag takes on a much darker tenor for those paying attention when Gary resigns from Team America and goes to a bar to get blind drunk. Before Gary spews up that vomit volcano, oh you know the one, you can actually see him drinking at the bar with the infamous hammer lying right next to his empty collection of drink glasses. The implication is clear that Gary's not merely getting hammered. Yeah, you see what I did there? He's depressed to the point of suicidal ideation. And so he's keeping Spotswood's hammer nearby in case he decides to check himself out. It's easily missed if you're not scanning your eyes around that bar though. And it's one of the few genuinely bleak moments in a largely gut-bustingly funny comedy. Thanks for checking out this list today, folks. Now hit that subscribe button down below for more of this what culture stuff in your life. The explosion sounds, World Trade Center. Whether you consider it a well-intentioned tribute to all the lives lost in 9/11, or the ultimate Hollywood case of too soon, Oliver Stone's World Trade Center ably captures the horrifying chaos of the day's attacks. But one of the film's more nauseating stylistic flourishes is one you probably didn't even notice. As Sergeant John McLaughlin and his group of volunteers arrive on the scene, a number of what appear to be small explosions can be heard periodically detonating in the background as they get closer to the site. But in actual fact, these sounds were of people leaping from the towers and impacting on the pavement below. Given that many 9/11 survivors recounted hearing loud thuds as victims trapped on burning floors were compelled to leap out, Stone evidently sought to replicate that terrible day as authentically as possible, even in subtle ways you might not immediately appreciate. Fenton doesn't let Doyle touch him, Frailty. Bill Paxton's criminally underseen directorial debut, Frailty, climaxes with the revelation that Fenton Minks is actually his brother Adam. And more to the point, Adam is continuing his late father's work of hunting down and killing demons who are shown to him in visions by God. This might suggest that Adam is totally nuts, but it's ultimately revealed to actually be completely true. And at the end, he touches FBI agent Wesley Doyle, revealing that Doyle is himself one of the demons on Adam's list, having murdered his own mother. It's a bananas battery of plot twists. But what you might not fully appreciate is that for the entirety of the movie leading up to this, Adam purposefully avoided being touched by Doyle, as doing so would have revealed his true nature way too early. Take note when Doyle tries to help Adam into a cop car early on, but Adam simply says, "I got it," while leaning clear of Doyle's grasp. In another instance, Adam also hands Doyle a photo when he tries to shake his hand, again neutralizing the possibility of the two making contact. It's easy to miss these tiny flourishes of body language, but if you catch them on a repeat viewing, they will blow your damn mind while creeping you the hell out. Uncle Fester is a dark tourist, the Addams family. Early on in the Addams family, Uncle Fester is returned to the Addams residence following a 25-year absence after apparently getting lost in the Bermuda Triangle. You know, as you do. Fester has a large steamer trunk with him, and if you pause the movie to take a closer peek, it has stickers all over it detailing the many bizarre places Fester has traveled to. This includes Devil's Island, Alcatraz, the Black Hole of Calcutta, 3 Mile Island, and most unsettlingly of all, the remnants of Jonestown, the site where 918 of Jim Jones' cultists died. Basically, it confirms beyond any doubt that Fester is a committed dark tourist, keenly visiting places which have played host to death, suffering, and destruction. And while it's absolutely on brand for a member of the Addams clan to do this, it's still extremely unnerving to picture Fester of all people skulking around the remnants of Jonestown with great interest. Looney Tunes is Looney Tunes, The Flash. If perhaps not quite as skin-crawling as some other entries on this list, The Flash's temporal tinkering with reality is sure to leave many hysterically screaming, Mandela effect. When Barry ends up in an alternate 2013, a lot of things are different. And unlike most time travel movies, The Flash quite hilariously fixates on how even pop culture has been adversely altered in this alternate timeline. Case in point, Back to the Future now stars Eric Stoltz instead of Michael J. Fox, a nod to the fact that Stoltz originally filmed a substantial chunk of the film before being fired. And there's another nod hiding in plain sight too. Alternate Barry's computer monitor has a wallpaper for Looney Tunes, rather than Looney Tunes. Many among us will recall, with some embarrassment it must be said, coming to the realization too late in life that Warner Brothers' animated empire was not in fact called Looney Tunes. And even to this very day there are those who swear that they're being gaslit about it. And so this sight gag from The Flash just might leave you twisting yourself into knots and doubting the fabric of your very existence all over again. Lovely stuff. Becca predicts the future, The Visit. It's no secret that M. Night Shyamalan loves to play with audiences, and especially those who pay extra close attention to the finer details. With that in mind, early on in found footage film The Visit, Becca mentions to her pop-pop that she and her brother Tyler play a game, where they point to a building and have to say who lives there and what they secretly do. As an example, Tyler points to the police station they pass in the car, and Becca says that a cop named Jerry lives there who never comes into work, and never answers the phone because all he wants to do is to be a Latin dancer. Ah, what a life. In the third act, however, once Becca and Tyler's mother Loretta realizes that her children have been staying with imposter grandparents, she calls the cops. And if you listen closely, you can hear a voicemail message which says that Officer Jerry can't come to the phone right now. While Shyamalan surely intended this as nothing more than a wink-wink gag for fans to spot, it does basically imply that Becca has extrasensory abilities of some kind, right? Or alternatively, one creative fan theory actually claims that the entirety of the movie is in fact Becca's own elaborate filmmaking project. Interesting and slightly disturbing stuff, I'm sure you'll agree.